This is Love, Sex, and Society with Bridget and Don. Please like, subscribe, and share.
Welcome back, folks, to Love, Sex, and Society with Bridget and Don. We are going to have an amazing show. We actually have a licensed psychologist. And I got to put that license part because, you know, people fake it sometimes. Licensed psychologist.
A little bit of shade.
On with us tonight, Dr. Johnny Pierce. And we just going to go ahead and jump into it. Tell the people who you are, where you practice at, and how they can follow you, because you do have your own show.
Oh, hey, good day, good people. I got to do the intro classically. I'm Dr. Johnny Pierce, but you can just call me Johnny, and you can catch me on the Actually Well podcast. You can catch that on YouTube. You can catch it on Spotify, although Spotify be acting up sometimes. And you can catch me on the Insights and Actions podcast with my practice. I'm here in Virginia. I'm in Northern Virginia. If you want any kind of therapy and you are in the state of Virginia, I can see you because that's where I'm licensed at, and I practice ethically, so I only see people where I can. But if you are somebody interested in mental health or trying to find resources, you can reach out to me through Actually Well, the podcast, or even the Instagram page. And I can do the best I can to get you linked up with somebody. Psychology Today is a great resource.
Cool. All right, so cool. I guess we're going to jump right in because we're gonna cover a lot today. We're going to cover a lot. I got probably 80 questions of my own in my head.
Go for it. Let's get it.
But what made you choose psychology? Like, what pushed you into that field of practice?
You know, that is a common question I get asked, and not everybody knows this guy, but it's a guy named Barry Sanders. He's a great running back for the Detroit Lions. And in his Hall of Fame speech, he said, "I didn't choose football. Football chose me." And I actually feel that way about psychology. I was doing it for a long time and had no idea. I didn't actually learn anything about psychology until I got to college. But I wanted to take a psychology class right at the end of high school, and then the teacher left. But once I started learning about it, I'm like, man, I've been doing this my whole life. I've been having people come and talk to me and ask me things and me think critically about it. And fortunately, thanks to some actual graduate level education, I learned to stop trying to tell people what to do. But as a kid, I would just listen to people like, hey, why don't you do this? Or did you think about that? And they would just be like, man, you just seem so wise for your age. And I'm just like, it just kind of seemed like common sense to me. I would always listen to what they said their goal was. What was it they were trying to accomplish? And as a result of that, it just kind of fell in line for me. Like, well, if you want to do this, then you would need to do this, this, and this. And that's not necessarily how everybody thinks, but that's typically how I end up helping people. It's just like finding out what those goals are. And that's why wellness is my platform. Like, I'm not focused on pathology. I'm focused on where you want to go, how you want to have things be.
Okay. So I want to get into asking some good questions.
Go for it. Go for it.
So I really, something that I truly feel, because it's something that I just like, I'm a big observer. So I feel like something that I see a lot is people using like substances. And I also notice that a lot of people that I see using substances, they struggle with their mental health.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, you know, do you really believe with like how bad mental health is? Do you believe that some of it stems from people using substances?
You are asking a classic question that a lot of treatment facilities actually have struggled with. It's the chicken or the egg. Are you having mental health challenges because you've gotten involved with substance issues? Are you having substance issues because you got mental health challenges? And I think it's a case-by-case thing. Like, there are some people out there who their mental health would have been just fine if they had never gotten involved with substances. And maybe they got exposed to it at a place like, you know, high school, where they started drinking at parties, trying to fit in, or whatever the case may be. Maybe they got exposed to drugs because their friends or people in their family might have thought it was a cool thing to give them as a way to like chill out and fit in. Or maybe it was college. You know, a lot of people go to college and they like go buck wild because they've been under lock and key at home. And then they suddenly get in an environment where they by themselves and the only person monitoring them is them and their friends. Right. And, you know, who's learning how to drink responsibly in those settings? Nobody. And if your parents don't teach you, or an older relative doesn't teach you, or somebody who's looking out for you don't teach you, you won't know what's dangerous and what's not. You've probably heard of gateway drugs before, where somebody does one substance and it makes them more likely to do other substances, so that can get a little hazy. But in some other cases, it might be because their mental health was poor. So they struggle with something like anxiety, or they don't know how to talk to people in social situations, Well, if I drink a little bit, I'm a social butterfly. If I smoke a little bit, I don't think too much. And next thing you know, the substance seems as a good thing because it's helping me instead of me learning skills. So it really does depend on the person. But I think that's for sure, if you are struggling with mental health challenges, substances are probably something you should shy away from. Try to go see a professional. The street pharmacists don't care about you. What they care about is your money. And you may feel like that's the way it is with professionals, but professionals have a reason to be careful about what they prescribe you, how they prescribe it to you. It's a lot of consequences if it goes sideways. And their name is.
Yeah. I really respect that answer. What's the other thing I wanted to ask? So do you believe that people can truly heal? Like, if that's a goal for someone, is to heal from whether it's their trauma or their mental health issues like anxiety, depression. Do you truly feel like they can heal while still actively using substances?
Well, it depends on the substance. So like alcohol is a substance that we actually have a lot of information about how it affects the brain, how it affects the body. There's these things called blood alcohol charts. You can actually pull up one on your phone if you download an app, and it'll tell you based on your height, your weight, and your age how many drinks you should have to stay below the legal limit. And also, like, it just kind of tells you what your blood alcohol level would be with each successive drink. So if you are someone who can drink responsibly, then you won't turn to alcohol when you're feeling down, because you'll know alcohol is a depressant and I'm already feeling depressed. This isn't the time to drink. Drinking's celebratory. Drinking something I do socially. I don't keep it in my home if you're somebody who drinks. As far as marijuana goes and some other drugs, like, it's not as black and white because, I mean, obviously, you know, marijuana's been decriminalized and I think that was a good thing. It's not necessarily legal everywhere, but it is legal in some places, and they do have distilleries and they can tell you like what strain of cannabis it is and how it's going to affect you. So for people who like gummies or people who like to smoke, whatever it might be, like, if you know that I'm doing this for the sake of socializing, partying, having a good time, like, if that's the intent behind it, then you might be able to continue to use even if you are going to therapy, as long as you communicate with your therapist. Like, I've got clients who are actively using substances and we talk about it like, all right, what is it doing for you? What's your relationship with it? Because that's the thing I'm most curious about when people use substances. I'm not necessarily looking for like if they're trying to escape something as much as like, what do you get from it? And when people can't explain it, it means they haven't really thought about it. And when they haven't thought about it, then my thing is to leave them with, why haven't you thought about it?
Yeah.
But as far as healing goes, it's a fun term. I know it's become like the term de jour of the day. Everybody wants to heal. I'm healing. I think it's got some plus and some minus to it. The minus being that if a person is actively healing, so they're in the process of working on themselves and trying to get better, then in some ways they kind of get slighted because, like, you ain't healed yet. You know, you're not working hard enough to be healed yet. And people who say they are healed, how many of those people have you met who are still kind of carrying some baggage around whatever it was they healed from?
Right.
You know, there's something to be said about having scars. Like, we all have scars. It means you've gone through some things. It's, you know, some people have keloids, literally like this growth that comes out of a scar that you have, and it like stays with you.
Mine.
I got one right here. I got one. We ain't getting naked on the podcast, but I got one right here. And it is like my chest had to get sewn back together in order for me to even get the keloid.
Yeah.
So I healed, but I got this wound here that like shows that something happened.
Yeah.
And instead of us embracing that something happened or appreciating that about our lives, like so many of us are trying to erase our past. It's like, you wouldn't be where you are without your past. You can't learn without your past. Yeah. So that's the part about the healing term that kind of, it's a plus and a minus for me, because it's like, man, if healing means, or being healed means that you no longer have to confront that and overcome it, I don't know if that's necessarily accurate.
Yeah. So I have another question when it comes to drug abuse and stuff. What happens neurologically when someone repeatedly uses substances?
Ooh.
Like, what happens to the brain? I just want like, you know, and how people think, you know, and how they function. You know, I really want you to talk about that.
Okay, I can get into that. So first things first, I will say this. I'm glad that you brought up neurology, because it's not something that's necessarily like my area of focus, but I know enough about it because of the substance abuse work I've done in the past, which I should say this, and I want to make it clear, like I am a clinical psychologist, so I do talk therapy. I work with a psychiatrist, and I've worked with psychiatrists in the past, but I do not prescribe medication.
Okay.
There are psychologists out there who have prescription privileges. They've taken additional courses. They've been licensed to be able to do that. As a matter of fact, I know one personally. Guy was my intern supervisor when I was doing my first practicas. A guy named Brian Humphrey. He's doing great work out in Chicago. And he was the first person to get prescription privileges, and he happens to be a Black man. So shout out Brian Humphrey.
Shout out.
Work out there, man. But yeah, so I don't dabble in that part, but I did have to take those courses, and I have worked with clients, and I've been doing this for like 17 years now. So it's something I just do.
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol as a depressant, and anything that is a depressant. So benzodiazepines are a type of substance that people take typically in pill form. It mimics alcohol. And with depressants, it just slows everything down. So our brains are naturally firing to get us to do stuff. Right now, if I want to move my hand, my brain fires and then I move my hand. But if you'll notice, for people who are drinking too much alcohol or have a history with drinking too much alcohol, they'll shake because that firing is not quite working the way it's supposed to. Or when they're actually impaired, they'll have an exaggerated movement because their brain's got to fire so hard to get them to do the thing. Marijuana, being a different substance, doesn't activate the brain in that way, but what it can do is it gets the brain like super sensitive to its surroundings. So like that's why people say they like see colors and different things like that. A friend of mine once had an experience where he ate a little bit of a brownie and thought it didn't do anything, so he ate some more of it. And the thing is, brownies have a delayed onset. So whereas you smoke a little weed or you pop a gummy, it's going to take a little bit for it to kick in. Brownies especially take even longer to kick in, and when they do, they kick in hard. So he was like, "Yeah, I'm running down the hallway, and it was like I could never get to the end of it." So it's the perception of reality and time. So like things slow down for you externally, but in your mind, you're going really, really fast. So a substance like cocaine, an upper, it will make you, or a stimulant, it'll make you like speed up, and like your speech will get really rapid. You'll get really excited. Your heart will be just beating like crazy. So the brain is kind of what is driving the bus. And when you start adding substances to the brain being the brilliant machine that it is, it starts to try to adapt to whatever's coming in. It does this thing called downshifting. So whatever you normally would have produced in your brain, if you're adding the substance and it's adding to that, it'll say, oh, okay, well, you got it, so I'm going to stop doing that. That's like physical addiction.
Yeah.
Your brain shuts off doing that job thinking that, well, you keep doing the job for me, so I'm gonna let you go ahead and do that and focus my energy somewhere else. So it can be really dangerous.
Yeah. Okay. Don, you got some questions?
Well, I want to add one thing before I get Don's question. When it comes to like being careful and being safe, you can go through a substance withdrawal with every substance but depressants, so like benzodiazepines and alcohol. You have to go to a professional detox for that. Otherwise, you experience potentially seizures that could end your life. So please, if you are struggling with alcohol abuse issues, go to a detox, let them professionally detox you, get into a rehab, and then seek the treatment that you can get.
Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand about addiction too, is the fact that like people just like, oh, they need to just stop, and people don't understand that it's like their body is dependent now on this to function, and they don't understand that the withdrawals, just like I explained it to someone before, like, I don't know if you ever drank caffeine, but if you're like somebody who drinks caffeine very heavy, the moment that you just cut it cold turkey, you get a caffeine headache, and it can last like a whole week. So I'm like, imagine someone who's on a heavy drug or alcohol, what type of withdrawal symptoms their body is going to experience. And it, sometimes requires medication and things to help wean them off of it, So yeah, I do appreciate that. Don?
I have a question, but I want to stay on this for 1 second because I didn't know that with alcohol. I knew that with more heavier drugs like your cocaines, your heroin and stuff like that. But so if someone is, and I don't know what will be considered a heavy drinker, but let's say someone drinks every day.
Okay.
And they decide, you know what, I'm going to stop. That's not a good idea.
So depends on what they drink. So like if somebody's out here putting away gallons or handles, I know different terminology for different amounts of alcohol. You putting away a handle a day, yeah, you're gonna have to go to detox, buddy. I'm sorry, you can't just stop that.
Okay.
But if you're drinking, let's say you got a 6-pack, and the 6-pack make it you get 4 in a night, and you do that on a regular basis. Well, because it's beer and the proof of alcohol in beers is not as intense, you'd probably be okay with slowly but surely, okay, I've been drinking 4 a night. Let me see if I can drink 3 a night. Let me drink 2 a night. Let me get down to 1 and then be done. But if you out here getting it how you live, where, I mean, some people are out here drinking suitcases. I don't know if y'all familiar with what a suitcase is.
Nah.
Like 24 beers. It's like 24 beers in a 6-pack. Like if you doing that, you probably gonna need to go to detox. And I mean, your body will tell you, funny enough, like those delirium tremors, as they're called, DTs. When your body starts shaking, if you haven't had alcohol, it's saying that in the absence of it, it's not gonna function right. And that's gotta be terrifying for the people that experience it. I mean, some people get as desperate, they start drinking. Like, remember back when, back before mouthwash took out the alcohol, people would literally like sneak mouthwash. Yep. They'd be teachers at a school and they have their drawer with their mouthwash in it and stuff like that. Like it can get that intense.
Yeah, I when I went to a school in Eastern Kentucky, and people couldn't get off campus to get liquor, they would drink mouthwash, and I was like, "Wow, no."
Yeah, it gets that real. It gets that real. It gets scary.
Yeah, that was weird to even see, because out from New York, and in New York, you'd never see. Well, I've never seen anybody do it, but like, yeah, them young guys was just like chugging like Listerine, which is probably the worst daggone. Like, that is the strongest freaking mouthwash on the planet, and they would chug it because they couldn't get to the liquor store,
which is crazy.
So, yeah,
it's crazy.
So let me ask you this, right?
Right.
Because we speak a lot of childhood trauma and how that catches back up to you in later years. So what are some ways that childhood trauma shows up in adults who think they've moved on from it, but they really haven't?
Well, so there's trauma that a person's aware of, and then there's trauma the person may not be as aware of. And depending on how young they were when the trauma occurred, they may not realize how deep it runs. So like there's some people, like, say you are at an amusement park and you're walking with your family and then suddenly they weren't there and they lost you for some period of time. There are some kids that'll never be trauma to, because that kid is going to just keep on walking around and having a great time. Some kids, though, that is like the worst thing that could ever happen, because now they have to be confronted with the reality, I could not have my family.
Right.
And anybody who has that reality kind of hit is, going to go through something. But when you're that young and you only have so many resources to understand what's really going on in the moment, like, that could shake you for a long time. And if you are aware of it, then you might talk about it a lot. You might be really clingy to your mom or your dad. You might have some avoidance of going to school and stuff like that. Your parents, they may take you to therapy. They may just try to compensate and like homeschool you or something like that. And before you know it, your whole life has been formed around this trauma. So you're painfully aware that I have issues around separation and I don't really know what to do with that. And then there's some trauma that people aren't aware of. I mean, you've probably heard of cases where people have experienced some type of sexual abuse as a child or physical abuse as a child. And while they have the physical like consequences of it, so, they're uncomfortable in those kind of situations, or they kind of like very jumpy or whatever the case may be, they may not understand why they're doing that. So I don't know why I'm so uncomfortable when I walk down the street, or I don't know why I'm so uncomfortable when I get in these intimate situations. And yet they are. And for that person, it's especially hard to try to work through it, because all they can see is the result. They don't understand the precursor. With any adult that has some type of trauma in their history, hopefully they can talk about it, because it's so much easier to work through things when you have words for it. But in the event that they can't, and they just don't know what exactly is the catalyst for it, then what they try to do is manage the symptoms. They may do a particular type of therapy that's really good for trauma. It's called DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. And they've got some pretty trippy interventions. Like, that's something that you got to be trained in. It's a specialization for many people, but they have ways of trying to get the person's nervous system to calm down so that they can work through whatever the issue might be and be present for it. Because more times than not, if they don't know what the catalyst is, the feelings get too intense and they just shut down.
Okay.
So yeah, trauma, it's become the word. It's another one of those, like healing. So everybody's got trauma, and when you call everything trauma, you reduce the value of the word trauma. You water it down. You make it where somebody not getting what they wanted for their birthday is a trauma. Somebody getting left at school for an extra 20 minutes and having to wait for their parents to show up, that's a trauma. So like now every little inconvenience becomes trauma. When somebody's experiencing some pain, it's like, oh, this is even worse than the worst and the worst. And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Instead of breaking out the scales and trying to figure out whose pain is worse, let's see it as pain. Let's respect it as pain. And let's decide how we want to move on from it, because what's done is done. The rear view mirror is always smaller than the windshield. So you got to look back to see what happened back there, but you can't drive forward looking back.
Yeah.
I like that. So staying on trauma for a second.
Yeah.
What are some trauma responses that people mistake for personality traits?
Ooh. Have either one of you ever met somebody who cannot stand to not be liked?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Now you're talking about people I know.
No. Believe it or not, that's a trauma response for some people. Because see, to not be liked puts them in danger. If somebody doesn't like me, they might hurt me.
Right.
And see, it's hard for the person who's on the outside dealing with that person, because you're like, man, like, relax. Like, everybody can't possibly like you. Like, it's going to be okay. But in their mind, like, this is a life or death situation in times, because it's like, if this person don't like me, then they might treat me poorly. They might do some harm to me. They might like try to make my life horrible, because in their mind, you're either there and you like me and everything's okay, or you don't like me and everything's bad. Like, there's very little in between. Another trauma response, funny enough, is like people give their stuff away very easily. Like, they're constantly giving their stuff away to people. That's the only way they seem to know how to connect with somebody, is to give them something, even stuff that's really personal, just handing it out to any and everybody. Well, they haven't learned how to distinguish between people to share with and also people who not to share with, and also things to share and things not to share, whether that be their time, their energy, their effort, their bodies. Like, it can get to that level. So those are like some that people often overlook, because they do kind of chalk it up. Oh, this person's promiscuous, or this person's generous, or this person is just like a social butterfly, or this person's a bucket of sunshine. Like, sometimes behind those super happy personalities that you think you're dealing with is a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, and a lot of pain.
Yeah, I feel like the first one, I definitely can agree, because it's kind of like, if I feel like someone didn't trust me, I wouldn't want to be around them, because I'll be like, all right, so you gonna try to take me out because you think I'm trying to take you out, So I look at it like that too. Like, I wouldn't want to be around, like, say if somebody is paranoid, I can use that example. If somebody's paranoid and all of a sudden they come around me and they feel paranoid and they don't trust me, instantly I don't want to be around you, because now I feel like you might try to harm me because you think that I'm trying to harm you, even though that was never the case, I hear you.
I think a lot of people go through that process of like, how do I be aware of somebody else's challenges and at the same time not contribute to them?
Right.
And the thing is, we can only assume so much responsibility for what somebody else is feeling. Like, when people say they made me feel this way, you felt that way and they did do something, but understand you had other choices on the table about how you could have felt about it. Somebody lies to me, I could take it personally, like, how dare they? Or I could just see it as, hey, maybe they struggle with telling the truth. Maybe it ain't nothing about me at all.
Yeah.
It ain't got to be personal. We ain't got to take it personal.
Yeah.
But I think it's hard sometimes not to take it personal. I know
definitely.
I think over the years I've put on a suit of armor, so to speak, so a lot of things don't get to me. But I know people who every little thing, it's like you're coming at me. That means you want to do something to me, and I got to get you first.
Yep. And I would say to anybody who struggles with that, check this out. Check this book out, and it'll help you with that. Because the 4 agreements. Oh, I'll go ahead and put it up again. There you go. The 4 agreements.
Okay.
And this is actually a part of, I've got like a little library of books that I keep over here. It's for my family, for me and my daughters. And I'm teaching my daughters as they grow up about these things, about these values and principles, so that they can go out into the world and be better protected against the struggles that other people might have. Because I got to let them go out into the world. My heart's got to go out there and it's got to walk around. It's got to intermingle with the world around it. But I don't necessarily have to have my heart out there with without any kind of protection. I pray over my kids. I try to teach them things, and I try to talk to them on a daily basis to understand what they might be going through. But what the 4 agreements tend to hit on, I mean, they are as follows. The first one is, be impeccable with your word. So instead of being worried about what other people are doing with theirs, make sure you're telling your truth. Make sure you're telling the truth as best you can, and understand that your truth is not the truth for everybody. Mm-hmm. And be accepting of the fact that you may say something that's upsetting to somebody else, but if that's the way it is, then you just kind of got to accept that might rub them the wrong way. The brutally honest piece of it, you ain't got to be brutal. You could just be honest. But being brutally honest isn't being honest, it's being brutal. But the next one, don't make any assumptions. And when it comes to don't making any assumptions, that's really hard because we're always trying to understand why the things around us are the way they are, whether that be people or circumstances. And we try to fill in these gaps and try to make it make sense. And we need to be better able to ask questions. And that's part about being impeccable with your word. I don't know. If I don't know something, I got to ask questions, but I got to be honest with myself about not knowing. And then don't take anything personally. So that one's exceptionally hard because when somebody does something in my direction, it feels like they're doing something to me. But the fact of the matter is they're probably not even dealing with me as the person I am. They're dealing with their idea of who I am or who I might remind them of. Yeah. And the next one is to always do your best. And that gives you grace that you're not going to be perfect. You're not going to hit the mark every day, but you try again.
Yeah. So I had a question, since we were talking about, I guess, childhood trauma.
Yeah.
I know children suffer with, their mental health, and I know it stems from a lot of different ways, especially nowadays with social media, school, and things like that. But I wanted to know, how often do you see some of the issues that children deal with mentally could possibly come from like emotional unavailable parents?
So I say this
emotionally. Sorry.
Well, I get you. I do family therapy. I do couples therapy. I do individual therapy. So I work with anybody under the age of 18. I got to see them in the context of family because I say this to everybody that will listen. Kids are not clients. I know that is not a common way of looking at kids because, they need therapy too. But let's look at the facts. A child does not pick his parents. Mm-hmm. We never had a vote. We don't get a lottery. We don't get to pick. So you are selected by your parents because they choose to have you. And the circumstances can vary, but they ultimately choose to have you if you got here.
Right.
Then they choose where you live. They choose the school you go to. They choose the neighborhood. They choose the elements that make up the foundation of your life. And it's not to say that kids can't struggle in a healthy environment, but more times than not, they don't. Mm-hmm. So when kids are having a hard time, let's say a kid's having a hard time communicating. Let's say a kid is having a hard time behaving well in class. We got to look at, how is the school structured? Is the school set up in a way where this kid can thrive? Because not every classroom works for every kid. Some kids need to be able to move around. And just because they moving around don't mean they got ADHD. It may just mean that they need to move around because they got a little bit of energy to them. And that's perfectly fine. If the kid's struggling with communication, well, how do the parents communicate? Are y'all cussing and fussing at each other right in front of the kid on a regular basis? Do you take them around family to cuss and fuss in front of them on a regular basis? What kind of modeling are we doing? It's not a necessarily blame game. It's like, let's work to understand. What is this child showing us, telling us about the world that they live in?
Yeah.
If it's dealing with anxiety or something like that, it could be because maybe there was an absent parent and they have no idea why they left or where they went or if they're coming back. It might be that, parents are too busy on these. We all got these. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to be sitting and kicking it with your kid and you on the phone the whole time, you thumbing it up with somebody. You're supposed to be sitting there with your kid.
Not to cut you off, but to some parents, I feel like some parents are emotionally unavailable. Some might not be aware of it, right?
Most aren't. I would say most aren't.
Yeah.
Because we didn't get that. Some of us didn't get that. I know my mom, she worked her butt off. She had 2 jobs.
Right.
She came home from work. It was like 5, 6 in the evening. she might cook dinner. I might have been responsible for cooking dinner.
Right.
And she asked me how school went, and that was about the sum of the conversation. We might talk a little bit more on the weekend, but like she was just making sure I survived.
Right.
It was my sister who was there for me. My sister's about 6 years older than me. So it was my sister who was having those like day in and day out conversations, seeing how things was going, helping me with the homework. No knock on my mom. My mom did a spectacular job as a single mother, but she was working it pretty hard to provide.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like you're right. I feel like it happens a lot, you know. And I feel like sometimes when women or, you know, men, when they get older, you know, maybe when they become grandparents, they start reflecting and be like, dang, I wish I would have showed up more for my kid, you know. So the fact that this is so common, do you have any like ways that could help a parent become more emotionally available for their child?
Well, this is why I would say kids aren't clients, because if a child is struggling in a way that like leads them to therapy, and then I talk with the parents, I'd say 99% of the time, parents are struggling. Parents are struggling because they overworked. They struggling because they ain't sleeping enough. They ain't drinking enough water. They ain't eating 3 meals a day. They doing their best to help the child survive. So they got a roof over their head. They got some clothes on their back. They got some food in their belly. But that's all they can concentrate on, because survival is all that they have the energy for, all they have the bandwidth for. I think people are working more and more. Cost of living is crazy high. Gas is crazy high. I only got a half a tank today and I spent $30 and I'm like, God. We talked about my schedule a little bit. I was talking with Don about it before we got on here, and I was saying how I work 3 days a week. I work 3 full days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday. The other 4 days I keep open so that I can take my kids to school, pick them up from school, spend quality time with them. You know, I'll have virtual sessions here and there, but for the most part, when it's my time to be in daddy mode, like I'm in daddy mode.
Yeah.
Conversations, we do stuff together. And being intentional about my time with my kids is really important to me. And I don't know how many parents really can afford that. Like they don't maybe think about it that way. It's like, did they eat? Did they get to where they had to go? Do they have clean clothes on?
Right.
And if a parent is scrambling to take care of themselves, why wouldn't they be scrambling to take care of their kids?
Right.
And since so many people don't have villages these days because communities ain't what they used to be, many of us move away from our family. So like we don't always have family in the area to help us with our children, but it takes a village no matter where you are.
Right.
So we have to invest as adults. We have to invest in ourselves by also having community, having a network. And we take care of our kids through that community because sometimes we can get people to help us. And it's not something where it's like, oh, you're not being responsible for your kid. No, I actually am being responsible for my child by having that village around them. Because that's been what it's taken since the dawn of mankind. It's always been a us. And if it hasn't been a us, it ain't been a me. It ain't been a you. It just didn't exist.
Right.
Yeah, I had a conversation. All my children are adults now, thank God.
Hey, you won. You hit the lottery right there. You all made it to maturity.
Yes. But one of them was telling me that throughout their lives, and I didn't realize it. Because all I knew was work, make money, provide. Right. And they were like, you were financially present, but you weren't able to be available.
Yeah.
And like, first of all, hearing my child say this to me felt like you're smarter than I am. So I wanted to ask them some questions, like, how can you help me out? But I think it was eye-opening because I thought being financially present was being available. I was being available with the dollar. I was making sure that you were good, but I missed out on a large chunk of their lives.
You did what a lot of us men are told to do. A lot of us are asked to do that exactly. Be a provider, be a protector. You know that we all heard the jargon, the masculine man, all that nonsense. The thing is, man, we gotta, if we ask people to be a set of things, we are actually shaving off parts of who they are. Because I haven't known you very long, Don. We talked a little bit today. I can tell you're a full, rich person, man. I can tell that you have just as much to offer your children or had as much to offer them in the form of providing as you had for being a person. And the thing is, thankfully, as adults, you still got time to connect with them, man. They know you love them. they're going to learn from you at this time because it's probably less pressure on you to provide now in that way,
Right.
provide more emotionally. But a lot of fathers find themselves turning into paychecks. And some of them are content to be paychecks. I mean, they don't want to deal with the woman no more if they ain't with her no more, or they don't want to deal with the feelings that come up for the kid and all the, can we just pay for it and make it better? Some are like that, but I would think many men would love to be more hands-on with their children, but they've either come to believe, or in some cases, moms have made it clear, I'm the parent. I'm the one that sets the agenda for the kids. You just pay for things. And that's not every lady, but that happens with some ladies. And then there's some guys that just bail on the whole process altogether, and I can't necessarily connect with those grown boys.
Right.
You're a grown man, you're going to want to be hands-on because you're going to want to shape that little life.
Right.
Yeah. What was I going to say? I mean, I already talked about that because I was going to ask, but I feel like you did kind of already, because I said, I know mental health issues can be hereditary.
Oh, yeah.
But, and I said, I wanted to say, do you believe trauma can be generational?
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So
like, they have that saying of generational curses and stuff like that. So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh, most definitely. So few things. Gut feelings are real. You have neurotransmitters in your stomach. It's been proven. Things like anxiety, especially, typically people feel it in their stomach. If you know somebody's got like a IBS or something like that, they typically have issues around anxiety. The things are connected. So generational trauma, generational curses. I mean, if you're a person of faith, you know where generational curses come from. Check your Bible, it's in there. But there's been studies shown time and time and time again that because of what trauma can do to a person's literal nervous system, how it functions, how it kicks out cortisol, which is a stress hormone, all of that good stuff, that can definitely be passed genetically onto the next generation. And the thing is, the next generation, if they don't have a relationship with that original family member who might have passed that on to them, they will have these exaggerated reactions or what appear to be exaggerated reactions, and they won't have a context for it. Like, why do I sweat so much when I go out? Or why is my heart racing so much when I got to do something new? They won't have any context for it, and they'll kind of think of it as being their own thing. Oh, I guess I'm just nervous like that. Or I guess I just need to learn I need to do some woosahs, and I need to get into meditation, and I need to do yoga. And all that might be able to help them. But some of that nervous system was actually designed off the previous nervous systems in your family. Just like your family can be susceptible to things like cancer, diabetes, heart issues, you can be susceptible to anxiety, depression, and so on. And more times than not, it goes back even further than the people that you might have had access to. I don't know about you all, but my grandfathers were dead when I was born. Never got to meet them. Yeah. Thankfully, I got to meet both of my grandmothers, but like with my grandfathers, I have no idea what those men went through, what kind of lives they fully led, what stress they had in their lives. I know one of my grandfathers, my maternal grandfather, fought in a war. I know that my paternal grandfather left the family and moved all the way out to California. My dad had to go find him. So I don't know what genetics they passed on. I just know I got their genes. Yeah. I have to be mindful of myself, and I would encourage anybody, be mindful of yourself. Be in situations and notice you in those moments. Am I taking this in neutrally, or do I already come to it with a made up mind about how this is supposed to go? Yeah.
Do you believe that people should know their DNA? Do you feel like it's something people should do when children are born? Just because of the fact that you said certain things can be in your DNA, so it's maybe you can take precautions before it becomes a problem. And the only reason why I'm saying this is because I do have my DNA.
Oh, you did the 23andMe or something like that?
Huh?
You did the 23andMe or something like that?
Yes. But I did look up some of my what is it? I guess your chromosomes and stuff. Mm-hmm. And one of them did say something about basically I would struggle with anxiety, which I thought was crazy.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. You're younger than me, Bridget, so you might not remember this, but Don, you might remember this. It was in the 90s. It was like the mid 90s, and they were doing the Human Genome Project. They were working really hard to get the genetic code for all humans. They were really trying to nail it down. The science that's come out of that has been amazing. They can literally tell you if you're susceptible to things like Alzheimer's, dementia. They can like pinpoint that well in advance if you're developing any symptoms. And what they do when they do pinpoint that is they make you aware, hey, you may be more susceptible. So it's not a given that you will get it, but you may be more susceptible. These are things you might want to do in order to like protect yourself and safeguard yourself. And the same thing can go with anxiety. Now, when you bring up getting the DNA done at birth, it made me think about like how many babies is born to families where the mama knows that ain't daddy, but mama keep that on the hush because that's the daddy that's present. So that might spark some controversy, but the stats on that are pretty terrible. But as far as the genetics and finding out about what you might be susceptible to, I think there's some benefits to that. But I also think that if people made wellness more the focus, and I mean, I know that's my platform and I know I talk about it nonstop. That's what the podcast's all about. That's what my work is all about. That's how I live. That's how I talk to people. But I think by making that the thing that is the centering point, it's a way of accepting that a lot of things may be outside of my control because I didn't pick my parents, because I didn't pick what city I grew up in or what neighborhood I grew up in, because I didn't pick any of these things and I can't change them now. Like I already got it. So it's about what am I going to do with it? How am I going to play this hand that I've been dealt? And are there ways for me to upgrade the hand over time? Because the fact that I'm sitting here talking to you guys on live as a licensed psychologist in the state of Virginia, that's not what in 1986, when I was born, would have been predicted based on my lineage, my genetics, my circumstances. Like none of that would have been predicted. At one point in time, I was one of 119 licensed clinical psychologists that were Black men. I don't know if those numbers have gotten better, but the numbers are excruciatingly low. Black people make up 5% of all doctorate level people in my industry. We barely exist. And so many of us don't go into therapy because we want to sit with somebody that looks like us. And I get the phone calls now. Hey, I'm looking for a Black psychologist. Well, I'm here. I know a few others. My caseload ain't full. So come on, let's make it happen. But we also want to get it for the cheap or the low. And like, sorry, but at the doctor, I got 2 kids. I got to feed them. I ain't trying to scramble. So that stuff comes up. And the fact of the matter is, when it does come up, having real hard conversations about it, it makes everybody a little uncomfortable because like, man, like it seems like there's this trade-off. I either got to go and talk to somebody who don't look like me or I'm not fully sure will understand me, or I got to talk to the few that do, and they got so many people coming their way. Maybe sometimes they're not always consistent with the rates or considerate with the rates. So it gets that person that getting a lot of attention right now because they calling themselves doctor without necessarily having the credentials. Part of the reason why that's able to happen is because of this stuff.
Wow.
We want people to look like us, and somebody can say, hey, I got the background and I look like you, so listen to me and trust me. But you can tell by the way they talk. No, you don't sound like somebody who got a license. You sound like somebody who just, you like attention.
Yeah.
Right. Now this is going to kind of, I guess, jump off of what we kind of been on, but because there's not a lot of Black psychologists.
Yeah.
Is there a network where someone can call in and they can be directed in their area? Because we have viewers that are all from all over the United States and some other parts of the world. But focusing on the United States, is there like a network where they can call and someone would direct them in their area to a good board certified psychologist?
Well, first and foremost, let me say this about psychology. I do not believe we're the gatekeepers of health and wellness. And I know that like there are people in my field that want to have that stance. I don't think that benefits our clients. I don't think that benefits anybody. A life coach can be incredibly helpful if they stay in their lane. A mental health counselor can be very, very helpful if they're honest about their credentials. A psychologist can be helpful if they got what they need to do the job well. Did they get the training? Did they get licensed? Because I was doctor as of 2014 when I graduated with my doctorate. I've been licensed since 2019. I was licensed in Pennsylvania for about 4 or 5 years, and then I got licensed here in Virginia in 2021. So I've been doctor appropriately because of the degree. But in my practice, I always had to be mindful and explain to people like, listen, I am a clinician that's working under a supervisor when I didn't have my license. Then once I got my license, explaining what that meant, what that looked like. So
Okay.
I really want to put that out there. Like, don't feel as though if the person's not a doctor or they don't have a doctorate or they haven't gotten licensed in the field of psychology that they're not legit. As long as they're being honest and transparent about what they are and what their credentials are, they can be helpful to you in the way that they can. But the resource that I always point people to when it comes to looking for help is Psychology Today. And like, they don't pay me, y'all should, but they don't. What they do, and like, I'm on there, my colleagues are on there, I know people who have got great profiles on there. What they ask of us as providers to kind of market ourselves is so important. We don't just get to throw up a picture and smile and say what our hours are. We got to explain the kind of work that we do, the training that we have, years of experience. We even talk about our rates on there, so like people can know before they even call, like, oh, okay, this person accepts insurance, this person doesn't accept insurance, this is what their hourly rate is. So that information is all there. Many profiles that get the most attention are the ones that have videos. I have a video on mine. It's just a little introduction to who I am and how I do stuff. It can't be super long, so you don't have somebody just yapping at you. But that information is out there if people look. I know not everybody's aware of it, but like Psychology Today, there are other places out there, but some of them are platforms. And when they become platforms, you got to wonder about, like, is there an agenda there? I don't believe Psychology Today has any kind of agenda. They put out a publication. People can get it whether they're in the field or not. So that's why I would highlight them as a place if you're looking for somebody, because you can select out for race, select out for gender. And regardless of whatever area you're in, they'll be able to tell you like what your options are. I will say sometimes you got to pay out of pocket, because I know for myself, if I had to take insurance, I could do a session a day, I might get paid for it in 3 months.
Oh, wow.
And the way my bills work, they come every month. So I do it that way. I have worked in community mental health before, and I think I paid my dues. I did that for 8 years. You don't get paid as well, but you do help some people who really can't get help otherwise. And now I'm in private practice, and while I'm in an area that's pretty affluent, so thankfully people can typically afford me. I know that part of the reason why I'm working with more men than I ever have is due in part to the fact that I cost a bit more than I ever have. But my clients will say I'm worth it.
That's the important part. Like,
man, I'm trying to do top flight work.
Yeah, if you're getting the help, like, we'll go out and buy any car, no matter what the cost. If we got the money, we'll go out and buy shoes, clothes, but we'll ask for the hookup when it comes to our mental health. So,
and the best part is, like, even on there, like, there will be people who are doing sliding scales because they do understand that, like, some people may not be able to afford what they're generally charging folks. So it's one of those things where I get why we look for discounts, or we look for, hey man, it's breaking the bank. Hey man, that's rent money. You're right. And if I can't help you, I haven't met anybody in my field that's not like this, but I know for a fact that I'm like this. Somebody calls up or they hit me up on Psychology and then they said, hey man, you cost a little bit too much for me. No problem. I understand. I'm not gonna fight with you about that. Here's what I can do though. I will help you find somebody. So if you want to go through insurance, this is how you do it. If you don't want to go through insurance and you want to find somebody with a lower rate, hey, if you look through this, if you look through that, these are the kind of things you want to look for. People need to interview their therapist, whether it's a licensed professional or not. Interview them. How are you going to help me? What's your approach? When you think about change, what does that look like? You going to let me sit here and vent week after week after week and collect money off of me, or are you going to actually help me? Because venting is like doing a bench press, but never putting the set back up. You just push it off your chest and then it fall right back down. That ain't how you work out. Uh-oh, Bridget, you muted.
Bridge. You muted.
I'm sorry.
You was going too.
I said it's crazy because I feel like I'm always like pushing, my clients to go to therapy and stuff. And, a lot of them give me feedback of like, you know, I didn't like my last therapist. And I always say, like, yeah, sometimes it does take a few therapists to find your therapist. But honestly, I didn't really know like how to really tell them to go about that. Like, you know, because I don't feel like you should get deep in with the therapist and then realize like this person's not really for me. So I feel like that is a good strategy to really like
Yeah.
interview them. And I feel like I'm really going to use that to help people like be able to choose a therapist for themselves, you know.
Well, I'm gonna
Because
touch on a topic that y'all talk about all the time. It's
yeah.
like gluten.
Yeah,
It's like
because
gluten.
even me, like before I found my therapist now, I'm like, I went through some bad ones and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
like these are not for me. But I never really, you know, I guess people don't really know that you can do that and interview them and also let them know like what it is that you're actually trying to work on, you know, what is your goal out of it, you know.
Right.
So I think that's some really good information, you know, to
Yeah,
give people.
because I got lucky with my last therapist, but I didn't know that you can like narrow down because I would have much preferred a black male therapist so I could just sit there and chop it up. I had an Asian lady, and I was just like, this lady is not gonna know nothing about what I'm talking about right now. We are not in the same hemisphere. But luckily,
Same hemisphere though.
she was one that was honest and straight to the point, and that's exactly what I needed because I didn't need somebody that was going to candy coat things for me.
Mhm.
It was nothing for her to call me a liar, get your life together, and
I
I was
like
cool with that. That's what I needed.
it. And they've actually done studies. Like this is something I really appreciate about my field and like fields around it. They studied whether or not matching for race actually made difference. And the thing is, statistically speaking, it doesn't. It's always about relationship. A lot of people assume
Mm.
that because you look like somebody that you would have more in common with them, but that's just not a given. I'm a black man from Detroit, but I left Detroit when I was 18, and I only went back a few times before I moved to Chicago for 6 years, and then I mean 5 years, and then I've moved around the East Coast. So although I am a black man from Detroit, I'm also a black man that's been exposed to what it's like to live in Chicago. What's it like to live in central Pennsylvania, where it's very pale everywhere you go? Delaware. I lived in Baltimore for a little bit, so I love that shirt. I'm right now, and it's not a lot of people that look like me around here. But I've lived in these different places, so I have some idea about what it means to be black in different places. But I don't know what it means to be black for everybody everywhere.
Right.
And just because I'm black doesn't mean that I'm automatically going to understand things, nor should I try to lean on that understanding because I'm going to make assumptions then. I'm going to get myself in trouble. Oh, you know what it is like, or you get, I don't. Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
And you mentioned there was an Asian lady for you. The thing about her that made her so good for you, though, was she was able to talk to you with respect and also care. It was
Mhm.
all about the relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe in mental health, people seeking therapy,
Okay.
all people. But why do you believe seeking help with your mental health or addiction or whatever in the Black community, why do you feel like it's so frowned upon? And also, why do you feel like it's very much needed?
Okay. So I think why it's frowned upon in general, and I've been exposed to this through like working with clients and also like living in different places, is whether the Black community like really wants to talk about it or not. Almost all of us grew up with Christian values.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost
Mhm.
all of us, whether we went to church or not, whether we had a place of worship, whether we got a Bible in our home, that's the family Bible right there. Whether
Mm-hmm.
that's in your home or not, like we all kind of grew up with these principles and values. And the principle and value of being a Christian is you believe in Christ. So if something ain't going right, you trust Christ with it. If you don't like the way things are, you pray about it. And while that is very much something like I pray every morning I wake up, I
Yeah.
pray for my children, I pray for my own health, and I pray for my clients. Um, I still take on that responsibility that faith without works equals nothing.
Yeah.
Mm.
But because we were kind of raised with the values and the principles, but not always exposed to the full context of it, we may have gotten told that, hey, you need to pray more, or you need to, you need to trust the Lord more, like you'll get through. Like it's been very positive, but I hate to use the word toxic, but that kind of toxic positivity where you can't be honest about when you struggle. You can't be honest about when something's not going well. There's also that whole, we got to keep it in the house because we don't want to look goofy to somebody out there. So that perception management, those values, at times they have been a hindrance, and the field hasn't done itself any good. Like, when it comes to the history of psychology, especially with Black people, when it comes to the history of medical fields in general and Black people, there's an understanding why there's a mistrust. Because we have not been treated well historically by people who came to our community to do research and then left us and didn't help us in any kind of way. We have been treated like animals at times and picked apart and studied, but never actually interacted with. So understandable why there might be a reluctance or a hesitance, because one, it may go against a person's principles or values that, like, I got to endure, I got to overcome. We all want to be resilient. We all want to be perseverance. You know, we got to have that as a part of who we are. And to say that I need help means I'm weak, means I'm soft, especially if you're a guy or something like that. And it's like, no, even with the ladies though, you got a lot of, women who have had situations where the women around them, whether it be because they were single moms and they had to deal with a lot. Oh, you think you got it bad? Well, I had to go through all this. We start breaking out the scales again. My pain is worse than your pain, and I didn't need help with my pain, so you shouldn't need help with yours. Right. Whoa, you sound like you need help with your pain because you're talking out of your pain.
Right.
That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing somebody that's hurting right now. You don't sound like somebody that's healing or healed.
Yeah.
So I know time is drawing near, and I promise you, we could talk to you for about 2-3 more hours, bro. I promise you. I promise. We got to have you back on.
Hey, man, I love to be back on. In whatever way I can be a contributor, I love that. Bridget, I still want to thank you so much for coming on my podcast and sharing your the ladies.
If y'all get a chance, check out that episode. It was a good one.
Check it out. And the other ladies, like, I was very fortunate. I spent the month of May, and I mean, it's still going on. Like a new interview just released today. I did 16 interviews with different ladies in and around wellness. And Bridget, I very much feel like you're in and around wellness. One, you shared about your own personal story. Two, you talked about how you try to encourage your clients with their mental health. So you're very much right in the group that I wanted to talk to. And it's been amazing watching the reaction to them as they come out, because I do believe that the ladies are sharing their stories and speaking to other people's stories, and hopefully it will be helpful to them. I'm doing it for the fellas too, though.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
God, I'm at the
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
So I do have one other question before we wrap up. For someone who is silently struggling with anxiety, trauma, depression, or addiction right now, what would you want them to hear tonight that might start steering them in the right direction?
So from a wellness perspective, you're looking for health in what you're doing. If you feel like you got to be quiet, you're doing that because you want to be well. You want people to see you as being well. If you're drinking, if you're drugging, you're doing that because you want to feel better. You're trying to be well. So instead of judging yourself for whatever you did that didn't work out well, or whatever you're doing right now that maybe not helping you in a very clear way, think about it like this. If I can choose to do this, I can choose to do something else. And if you bring other people into your process and you let them love on you and get that village, you let them encourage you that you can make different decisions, before you know it, one decision at a time, you'll be able to be well.
Yeah. Thank you.
You got one more, Bridge. We can hold it for 2 more minutes.
I really appreciate you coming on here. And I know this is towards the end of the month, but I really wanted, I feel like this was important for mental health awareness. And like I talked about, I've always struggled with my mental health. I feel like it's a lot of people that struggle.
I think you overcoming your mental health.
What you say?
I do too.
I think you overcoming. See that terminology there, strucking with it.
Yeah.
I
have my battles. I think I make it look good, and I'm learning, but it's something that I've been trying to overcome, throughout my life. And I feel like some people aren't really self-aware enough to know that, and I say that too a lot. I feel like sometimes when people aren't mentally in a good place, they can't really tell, but one last question I do have for you is, if you notice someone is struggling with their mental health, if they feel like someone might be struggling with addiction, what ways do you feel like they can come to them to try to help them and support them? Like, how could they even bring it to that person's attention?
So that one's tricky for people because, like, is it my business? Should I be saying something? Is the person going to receive it well? They're going to think I'm attacking them. Well, it's really hard for somebody to feel like you're attacking them if you come up, put your hands up like this.
Yeah.
And you lead with love. Love is a real force. And if you lead with love and you got your hands up, hey, listen, I ain't trying to tell you what to do, but I love you. And since I love you, this is what I'm seeing. Do you see it? And if the person says, oh, you coming at, I love you. I'm attacking you with love. That's what you hear right now. Right. I'm saying I love you, and this is what I'm saying. Do you see it or do you not see it? Because that conversation is going to be different. And you drink too much.
Right.
You ain't talked to nobody in 2 months. You've been locked in your room. You isolated. So instead of judging it and diagnosing it for them, lead with love and share the observation. Hey, I noticed this. Do you notice it? How you doing? Because when you come at something with care, it's really hard for somebody to push back on you. Even if they're not doing well, they might have been begging for somebody to say something. And if you can say it when you lead with love, they're more likely to receive it. We don't like being criticized, though. So if you lead with judgment can stay in your back pocket. You can always pull that out later. Lead with the love.
Yeah.
And be curious. Hey, what's going on?
Right.
I like that.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
I do. That was a good question to close it out. So a lot of people may not have realized May is mental health awareness. And I think Bridget, you said mental health awareness ran with women's health awareness, right? This month.
And next month, June, is gonna be Men's Mental Health Month. So we all over May and June. May for Mother's Day, June for Father's Day, and we got mental health around all of it.
And honestly, it's kind of the right seasons for it because it's starting to get warm. That means you're going to be out more. That means you're going to be self-medicating more instead of getting the help that you need. So definitely glad you came on, brother. I really, really appreciate it. Bridget, me and Bridget talked about this at length, and we was like, we got to get him on here.
Yeah.
You're doing powerful work, and we really appreciate what you do.
Yeah.
One more time, it's the show is.
So the one that's mine personally is the Actually Well podcast. Again, you can see that on YouTube or Spotify. Check it out. We just dropped a new interview today with one of my colleagues, actually. She's a leader in her field. She wrote the book on alcohol moderation. Her name is Cindy Turner. I'm really glad to be on the team with her. Yesterday was my colleague, Chrissy Chow. Before that was my colleague, Siri Manaya. So, it's been a week of insight. If you want to see me and the fellas, it's the Insights and Actions podcast. We are on YouTube, and then we're everywhere, Spotify, Apple Music, all of that. That podcast is a little bit more general than mine. Mine is very much concentrated on wellness. It's been going through an interview series. You can follow the Act Well Pod at Instagram. It's at Act Well Pod. That's exactly how it looks. And on there, you'll get the links to the podcast. You'll get, updates on when the next one's going to pop out. And that's basically how that works.
Yeah. All right. So I just have one thing to ask everybody. I know at the end of our show, we always ask everybody to please like, subscribe, and share our show. But today I am going to be selfless. I need you all to go out and seek his show. Like, subscribe, and share his show. He's doing positive work. He's doing good works. So if you like us, you'll love him. I promise you.
Yeah.
So please go ahead to his page. Go ahead to the show.
You got a couple
episodes.
That's all you got to deal with. The absence of follicles. That's what you got to deal with. The content's good, but it's a lot.
But I appreciate you coming on, Johnny. I really do.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
All right. And we're definitely going to invite you back. And I look forward to the invite. I will definitely appear on your show. I look forward to it, brother. I really do. Next month will be a great month to do it. But hey, until next Wednesday, folks, thank you everybody for tuning in, either in real time or watching the rebroadcast. So we appreciate you. But until next Wednesday, y'all, we out. We gonna go get some rest, y'all. Be easy.
Be well.
This This is Love, Sex, and Society with Bridget and Don. Please like, subscribe, and share.